So, what if we could build a single global brain for artificial intelligence? I mean, not one owned by some big corporation, but a decentralized network that belongs to everyone, and at the same time, to no one. That's the really radical idea behind Bittensor, and it's this fascinating intersection of AI and crypto that we're going to dive into. This quote right here, it gets right to the heart of the problem. You see, right now, the most powerful AI on the planet is being built by a tiny, tiny handful of massive companies. So BitTensor asks this really critical question. What happens when we put that much power in so few hands? It's a problem they call the rise of a digital god. And this is the path we're currently on. A few tech giants, mostly in Silicon Valley, are creating these unbelievably powerful models completely behind closed doors. And, well, that creates some pretty serious issues for the rest of us. Okay, so this slide really lays out the two possible futures for AI. On the left, you've got the silo problem. That's pretty much the world we're in now. Companies are wasting billions relearning the exact same things. We just rent their AI instead of owning any part of it. And a small group of engineers gets to decide the moral compass for the entire planet. Yikes. But Bittensor's vision, on the right, is a hive mind. A world where AI models actually teach each other, where intelligence is an open public resource, and where the free market gets to decide what's valuable. So how in the world do you build this hive mind? Well, the best way to get your head around it is with an analogy you probably already know. Bitcoin. Bittensor is often called Bitcoin for AI because it's really trying to turn intelligence itself into a tradable, digital commodity. Now, this is the crucial point. Bitcoin pays computers to do work. In its case, a bunch of hashing, and the whole point is to commoditize security. But that work, that hashing, it's useless for anything else. Bittensor, on the other hand, pays computers to do valuable AI work. Generating text, creating images, analyzing data. It commoditizes intelligence. And here's the absolute key. In Bittensor, the work isn't just some means to an end. The work is the product. And this, right here, is the grand vision. To create an AI network that's so decentralized, so resilient, that it becomes an unkillable public utility. Just like electricity, it would be a resource that anyone, anywhere can tap into, and it wouldn't be owned by any single company or country. That is a huge, huge goal. So, how does it actually work under the hood? Let's peel back the layers and take a look at the mechanics of this global brain, this digital city of AI. It all boils down to this really simple, elegant loop. First, computers called validators issue a task, something like write a poem about space. Then, thousands of miners all over the world compete to produce the best answer. After that, the validators score all those answers based on their quality. And finally, the blockchain, which is like the network's super transparent accountant, distributes rewards in the form of the Teo token to the best performing miners. And this whole loop just runs on repeat, constantly, every 12 seconds. But wait a minute, what stops the scores, the validators, from cheating? This is where the system gets really, really clever. Bittensor uses something called Yuma Consensus. Think of it like this. A validator only gets paid if their quality scores for the miner's work match the scores of other validators. So if you're the only one saying a bad answer is good, the network just assumes you're either wrong or you're lying, and you get penalized. It creates this incredibly powerful incentive where being honest and just agreeing with the consensus on what's true becomes by far the most profitable strategy. Now, this system isn't just for one single task. It's a platform for many. The network is divided up into all these different subnets, which are basically specialized marketplaces for different kinds of intelligence. Let's see how this actually builds out into a real digital economy. And listen, this isn't just about making better chatbots. Some of these subnets are tackling some of the biggest scientific challenges we face today, turning this network into a massive tool for global research. Just take a look at this number. One single subnet, which is focused on protein folding for drug discovery, has managed to harness about 17 petaflops of computing power from its miners. I mean, that's supercomputer territory. It's a decentralized, global effort to design new medicines, and it's all powered by that Tau incentive. And it's not just science, not by a long shot. There's a subnet that acts like a decentralized hedge fund, with all these AI models competing to predict financial markets. There's another one that's building a global marketplace for raw GPU power. You've got others that are focused on scraping the web for data or creating new synthetic data to train the next generation of AI. It's a whole diverse economy of different intelligences. Okay, so the vision is huge and the technology is absolutely fascinating. But is it a true revolution or is it just too complex to actually work in the real world? Let's take an honest look at the biggest challenges and the potential future. This right here is the toughest question for any decentralized network. When you have hundreds of these subnets all competing for rewards, who gets to decide which ones are valuable and which ones should be left to die? I mean, who funds the future? Initially, this was all decided by a Senate. Basically, the top 64 token holders would vote on where the daily reward should go. But as you can imagine, this was slow and it got pretty political. So recently, the network went through this massive upgrade. In the new system, any Tau holder can stake their tokens directly to the subnets they believe in. Funding is now decided by a totally liquid, free market. And the impact of this change is just profound. It transforms the entire network from a slow political democracy into something much more like a stock market for AI projects, a Nasdaq of AI, where capital flows super efficiently to the best ideas, and bad ideas are quickly starved of funding. So what's the bull case? What's the dream scenario? It's that Bittensor becomes the fundamental backend for the entire AI economy, the Amazon Web Services of intelligence. It uses idle compute power all over the globe to make AI cheaper, it's incredibly resilient to regulation, and it acts like a startup incubator for any developer anywhere with a new AI idea. But the risks, they are just as real. The system is incredibly complex, and if the incentives are even slightly wrong, cheaters could potentially crash the whole network. The user experience might just never match the polish of a centralized giant. Governments could crack down. And maybe the biggest criticism of all, what if a lot of the models are just secretly calling OpenAI's API in the background, making Bittensor nothing but a really inefficient, expensive middleman? And that leaves us with the final massive question. Bittensor is a huge, high-stakes experiment. It's making a bet that intelligence shouldn't be a product owned by a corporation, but that it should be a public utility, accessible to everyone. Whether it succeeds or fails, the answer to this question is probably going to define the future of AI for all of us.